Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC, DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Go Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent, License Lender, Broker Number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License Number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender, License Number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser. Justin is not with us this week. He won't be with us for the next 2 weeks because he is in Italy. So you're going to be stuck with me for the next 2 weeks. So we're going to get started with the Thanksgiving Day games. We have a busy show with the college football games. A big NFL slate. And why don't we start with that NFL slate? Because we got the Bears and the Lions playing on Thanksgiving. The Bears coming in at 4-7, lost two brutal games to the Packers and the Vikings the last 2 weeks. And you got the Lions, who have been dominant. They have been dominant at home. They've pretty much been dominant all year. The last three home games they've played, they've scored over 40 points. They've scored at least 24 points since week 4. So the Lions have been playing great. So for this game, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a competitive game for both teams. I think that. But I do think because Caleb Williams, he has played better. Let's not forget that about Caleb Williams. He has played better for the Bears. Caleb Williams has ever since they fired Shane Waldron. So this should be a close competitive. It should be a competitive game. Maybe for a half, maybe into the third quarter. But eventually, I think the Lions take over. I know David Montgomery might not play, but I think they're going to run the ball with Jahmyr Gibbs. I could see that happen. I think Jared Goff's going to throw a couple touchdown passes. I think the Lions are going to win here. I think the Lions are going to win 31-20 over the Bears on Thanksgiving. They're going to go to 10-1. Bears are going to go to 4-8. This is not an indictment of Caleb Williams. He's actually been playing really well the last couple weeks. He looks like the guy. But eventually for the Bears, they're going to have to get a coaching staff to help him out. Or he will not reach the potential that he needs to reach. But still, I think the Lions win this game. I got to win it 31-20 over. I got the Lions winning this game 31-20 over the Bears. We'll move on to an NFC East matchup in Dallas. And the Giants looked absolutely pathetic last week. Could not have looked worse against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then you had the Cowboys who shocked in that game against the Commanders. Crazy game against the Commanders last week. So they're coming in at 4-7. Giants are coming in at 2-9. And with the issues in the Giants locker room, the Giants are a mess right now. Brian Daboll is this close to losing total control of this football team. Yeah, they handled the Daniel Jones situation. Could not handle the Daniel Jones situation worse last week, releasing him, and it showed on the field with the way the team played. And the comments after the game from Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, and Malik Neighbors. And yesterday, Malik Neighbors doubled down on those comments, which is crazy that Malik Neighbors did that. He doubled down on those comments. I mean, Brian Daboll is very, very close to losing this locker room with the Giants. And for the game, the only reason why I think this is a game, and the only reason why I think the Giants have any chance in this game is because Dak Prescott's not playing and Cooper Rush is, and the Cowboys have been so pathetic at home. The Cowboys have been horrendous on their home field. In 6 straight games, they have trailed by over 20 points. Now, that won't happen tomorrow because they're playing the Giants, but in 6 straight games, the Cowboys have trailed by over 20 points. And they've been so bad at home. But I don't think it's going to matter tomorrow for the Cowboys. I think they should be fine and should get to 5-7. I think they'll do enough offensively and defensively. They should get a ton of pressure Even if it's Tommy DeVito, who's questionable, or Drew Lock, they should get a ton of pressure on whoever is playing quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow. For the New York Giants tomorrow. I think the game will be close because they're two division rivals, but I got the Cowboys going to 5-7, Giants going to 2-10. I got the Cowboys winning this game 17-10 over the Giants, and we got Hector, and he says Daboll needs to be fired today. Dismantle the offensive line. Let me tell you something. If they get embarrassed tomorrow, there is a chance Brian Daboll could lose his job. They get embarrassed in a game that is probably the most watched. It's crazy that this is going to be how many people are going to watch this game because the teams are so bad. But this is the most watched football game outside of the Super Bowl. The 4 o'clock, the Cowboy game on Thanksgiving is the most watched game outside of the Super Bowl. If the Giants get embarrassed tomorrow, I would not be surprised if Brian Daboll is fired because Brian Daboll sat down with Malik Neighbors, and Malik Neighbors doubled down on his comments that he said on Sunday after the game. So it is an absolute mess for the Giants. Let me tell you, I would not be shocked if they don't win another game this year for how big of a disaster they are right now. And if Brian Daboll thinks they go 2-15 and he's going to keep his job, he is mistaken because there is no way that Brian Daboll keeps his job at 2-15. I don't care what ownership says. Ownership has gone back on their word before. They said this about Joe Judge 3 years ago. Ownership has gone back on their word before. There is no way Brian Daboll keeps his job at 2-15. Not a chance that Brian Daboll keeps his job at 2-15. And as a Giant fan, it's sad. It's sad because 2 years ago, you thought you were out of this darkness. You thought, before I crush the Giants, Justin does agree with me. He's got the Cowboys winning 23-17. But going back to the Giants, we're close to where we were 3 years ago. We never thought we were going to get to the lows of the third and 9 quarterback sneak. We are very close to getting there. And we thought this regime was going to turn it around. Year one, they went 9. They made the playoffs, won a playoff game. Then last year, they took a step back, but they had 3 different quarterbacks play 5 games. But this year has been an absolute disaster for this regime. And I know they want to throw Daniel Jones under the. And I know they like to throw Daniel Jones under the bus, Shane and Daboll. And I know Daniel Jones had his hand in it. He definitely did, but it definitely wasn't all his fault. I mean, you look at the issues of Brian Daboll. Really good first year, but last year there were issues. He ran Wink Martindale out of there. He's thrown his quarterback under the bus multiple times. So those have been the issues with Brian Daboll. Pretty much took play calling duties away from Michael Kappa. So he hasn't been able to get along with coaches. Not admitting he's wrong. Those have been the issues with Brian Daboll. Then the issues with Joe Shane. The first 2 drafts have been absolutely horrendous. You got a number 7 overall pick in Evan Neal that you played Chris Hubbard. You started Chris Hubbard and Josh Azudu over your number 7 overall pick. That's pathetic. It's Kayvon Thibodeau. He's been good, but not as good as everyone thought he was. And realistically, there really has not been outside of this year's draft with Neighbors and Tracy. There has not been a guy. The Giants drafted that you've really been high on, because even the year they made the playoffs in 2022, a lot of those guys, the best players in those teams were Gettleman guys. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Dexter Lawrence, Xavier McKinney, Andrew Thomas. Those were guys Dave Gettleman drafted, not Joe Shane. So Joe Shane, Brian Daboll absolutely have their hands in it, and I think both of their jobs are on the line. Seeing how disgraceful this is, and then looking what's with Saquon Barkley and the way Joe Shane disrespected him. And listen, I was on board with the Saquon thing because I wanted the O-line to improve. I wanted the D-line to improve. But the way they disrespected him in Hard Knocks, and then looking at the historic season he's had, that makes Joe Shane look absolutely terrible. Joe Shane just looks terrible because of disrespecting Saquon. And then the number one thing you can't do, and they went into this season, and no one can argue no one could say they were 100% committed to Daniel Jones, because they clearly were not. They clearly weren't. 3 times in Hard Knocks, and I've said this repeatedly, 3 times in Hard Knocks, Joe Shane tried to move on from Daniel Jones. First time, at the combine, talking to Elliott Wolf of the Patriots. Second time, calling up Elliott Wolf on draft day, seeing what he would give up. And then the third time, Daboll saying, "Oh, I'd trade up for Jaden Daniels." This regime was not 100% committed to their quarterback, and that was a big problem going into the season. And that's a big reason why the quarterback's on another team right now. And it is just an absolute disaster. This franchise, it's sad. It's sad. A once proud franchise just can't get anything right. Over the last decade, they just can't get anything right. And I just think the losing continues tomorrow. I don't think they get humiliated because the Cowboys are not that good either, and they're terrible. They're luckily they're playing the Cowboys because they were playing a lot of teams tomorrow. They would get humiliated. But luckily they're playing the Cowboys, and that's why they have a chance because they're playing a team that can't win it. They can't win at home and is with their backup quarterback. If Dak's playing, they got no chance to win this game. But the only reason they have a chance is they're playing a team that's terrible at home and they're playing their backup quarterback. But you can't pick the Giants this week. I got the Cowboys going to 5-7 and the Giants going to 2-10. Now moving on to the last game of Thanksgiving, and that is between the Dolphins and the Packers. And this is an interesting game. I think this will be the best game of this weekend. I think it'll be the best game. This will be the best game because the Dolphins are playing really well. They've won 3 in a row. Green Bay's playing really well right now. They're 8-3. But here's the interesting thing. The Dolphins have lost 11 straight games when the temperature has been under 40 degrees, and Tua is 0-6 when the temperature is under 50 degrees. So this is going to be a really interesting game between these two teams. I think it's going to be a back and forth game. We don't know if Tyreek Hill or Jari Alexander are going to play for both teams, but I think this is going to be a back and forth game for both teams. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the home team just because I just don't trust the Dolphins in cold weather. I just don't trust the Dolphins in cold weather. I think they play well tomorrow. I think they move the ball and score points. I just don't trust them in cold weather. And I think Jordan Love plays really, really well in this game. I think Josh Jacobs has another good game too. I'm going to go with the Packers here. I'm going to go with the Packers 28-24 over the Dolphins. And Justin's been a Dolphins hater all year. Let's just be honest. He's been a Dolphins hater all year. And that's why he's got him losing 27-13 to the Packers. Yeah, he's not been high on Mike McDaniel. I'm not surprised that Justin has the Dolphins losing by 2 scores. I got the Dolphins giving the Packers a game, but I got the Packers going to 9-3 and coming out of Thursday Thanksgiving night victorious against the Packers. Now moving on to the Black Friday game between the Raiders and the Chiefs. I'm telling you, the Chiefs, they're 10-1, but 9 one-score wins. It really felt like last week they won the game, but they really lost the game. See, they gave up 27 points to the Carolina Panthers, and they needed Patrick Mahomes to lead a game-winning drive to win that game. But luckily this week they're facing the Raiders, who are absolutely terrible and are on track to get the number 1 pick. They're right there with the Giants. They're competing with the Giants to get the number 1 pick. They're on track to get Shedeur. They're pretty much the team, and a lot of people think they're going to get Shedeur Sanders. I think Desmond Ridder is going to start at quarterback this week for them. Their offense is absolutely terrible. Outside of Brock Bowers, their offense is absolutely terrible. Their defense is below average. They are the Raiders are a bad football team. They do play the Chiefs tough, though. I mean, last year they beat them on Christmas Day. This year they played a 7-point game against them. But I think this game, I think it'll be competitive early, but I do think the Chiefs pull away. I think this is one of the few games the Chiefs win by double digits this year because they've been winning. 9 of their 10 wins have been by 1 score, but I do think the Chiefs win this game. I think Mahomes is a really good game. I think they have success running the ball with Kareem Hunt. I'm going Chiefs here. I'm going Chiefs 30-17 over the Raiders. And Justin agrees with me again. He's got the Chiefs 24-10 over the Raiders. Now as we talked about the Giants, we talked a little bit about Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has found a new team today. Earlier today, he signed with the Minnesota Vikings, and I like this signing. I like this signing for the Vikings. I think this is good. Sam Darnold, he's played well this year, but he's gotten hurt. Kevin O'Connell does a great job with quarterbacks. With Sam Darnold this year, he's done a great job with Sam Darnold. JJ McCarthy is probably going to be a good pro because he has a coach like Kevin O'Connell. He's an offensive mind like Kevin O'Connell. I think that I think this is a good place for Daniel Jones. I'm happy he's in a place like this. Listen, he was not a great quarterback for the Giants, but the organization definitely was a reason. Yes, he had his hand in the struggles, but the organization definitely had his hands in the struggles. And let's not forget, he won a playoff game in Minnesota. So I think this is a really, really good insurance policy for the Vikings. I mean, Daniel Jones is definitely an upgrade over Nick Mullins. You saw last year with the Vikings when Kirk Cousins got hurt, when they had Joshua Dobbs and Nick Mullins playing quarterback. It didn't work out at all. Now, this is a really, really good assurance policy that say Sam Darnold gets hurt, you got a guy that started in this league for 6 years and a guy who's won a playoff game on the road now. I'm not saying he's even a good quarterback by any means. I think he's an above average quarterback at best. I think he was an average quarterback for the Giants. But I think this is good for the Vikings to have a backup like this. Now, moving on to their game against Arizona this week, this is going to be my one upset this week. This is going to be my one upset because this Arizona defense has been sneaky. This Arizona defense has been sneaky good. They have only, in their last 3 games, I know the opponents haven't been good, the Bears, the Jets, and last week against the Seahawks. And the Seahawks are pretty good, though. They've only allowed 1 touchdown. Only 1 touchdown in their last 2 games. Jonathan Gannon's done a really good job with the defense. And the Cards with the Cardinals. I think this game is close and competitive, but I think Kyler Murray's going to do it again this year. He's going to lead another game-winning drive. He's going to lead his fourth game-winning drive of the season, and that's why I'm going to go with the surprise here. Because with Sam Darnold as your quarterback, I just can't see the Vikings being 10-2. I can't see them being 10-2. They've been living on the edge a little bit here, barely winning last week, barely beating the Jaguars. They've been living on the edge here a little bit. I'm going with the Cardinals here. I got the Cardinals 23-20 over the Vikings. I'm going Cardinals over the Vikings 23-20. And this is the first game that Justin disagrees with me here. Justin has got the Vikings winning it 27-21. So me and Justin are not on the same page with this one. I got the Cardinals winning this game. He's got the Vikings winning this game 23-21. We got an interconference. We got the 49ers heading to Buffalo on Sunday Night Football to take on the Bills. And I think the 49ers are still really, really banged up. I mean, the 49ers coming to the game really banged up. Purdy's banged up. Bose is banged up. Trent Williams is banged up. But I do have this feeling that they feel like their season's on the line. They feel like they got to win this game on Sunday night, especially because if you look at the Seahawks, they're probably going to win their game. You look at the Commanders, who they're chasing the wild card race, they're probably going to win their game. So I think the 49ers feel like this is a game we really, really, even though it's a brutal spot in Buffalo on a Sunday night, this is a game we need to win. So even though they're banged up, I don't think they'll get embarrassed like they did last week. I think they're going to compete in this game, but I think Buffalo's offense is going to be too much. The run game of James Cook, because the 49ers defense is just they're decent, but they're not the defense they've been the last couple of years. James Cook, I think, has a good game on the ground. I think Josh Allen plays well. I think Brock Purdy plays and he competes, but at the end of the day, I'm going with the home team here. I got the home team winning this game. I got the Bills winning this one 28-20 over the 49ers. And Justin agrees with me with the same score. He's got the Bills beating the Niners 28-20. It's just been a very weird year for the Niners. The Super Bowl hangover has definitely hit this team. And I think a big reason why they haven't been as good, injuries have been it, but the real reason has been the defense. The defense. Last week they got gashed on the ground, and really the 3 division games is the reason why. They had a lead in the fourth quarter in all those games. In the game at the Rams in week 3 that they blew, in the game against the Cardinals in week 5 that they blew, and then 2 weeks ago against the Seahawks had a lead in the fourth quarter, and all those quarterbacks led a game-winning drive against that defense. So the defense hasn't been as good. I think that's the biggest reason why the Niners have a very. And I said last week they were going to miss the playoffs. I think they are. I think the reason why the Niners are going to miss the playoffs is going to come down to those 3 games. If they win 2 of those 3, they're going to win the division. They're going to win the division. Now, I think they missed the playoffs. I do think the Niners missed the playoffs. Too many injuries, and their defense just not holding leads late in the game. Now, the biggest game, in my opinion, the biggest game in Week 13 is the Eagles and the Ravens. You got 2 MVP candidates: Saquon Barkley of the Eagles, Lamar Jackson of the Ravens. And the Eagles have came in winning 7 straight. The Ravens come into the game 8-4. They won on Monday night against the Chargers. John Harbaugh beat his brother Jim. For this game, though, I think the slow starts are going to come back to hurt. This is the game where the slow start is going to come back to bite the Eagles. The Eagles have been consistently getting off the slow starts. This is a crazy stat. The entire season, I know the Eagles have won 7 in a row, but the entire season, in the first quarter, the Eagles have 17 points. 17 points. That is insane for a team that is 9-2 to start games this poorly. I think it's finally going to come back to bite them on Sunday. I think they're going to get off to a bad start like they normally do, get off to a really bad start. I think the Ravens are going to go up by a couple scores in the first half. The Eagles are going to come back, but the problem is when they're behind, and you saw this in the Tampa Bay game, they can't use their best weapon the way they want to in Saquon Barkley. I think a big reason why the Eagles have gotten away with a lot of these slow starts is because of the opponents they play. Look at the teams who they've beaten during this winning streak. They beat the Browns. They beat the Giants. They beat the Bengals. They beat the They beat the Jaguars. They beat the Cowboys. They beat the Commanders, who are a good team. Really, they're a good team. Commanders are good. And then last week they beat the Rams. These slow starts are gonna come back to are gonna haunt the Eagles against these good teams. And I think this is gonna be a game where they get off to a slow start and they end up losing it because of it. That's why I'm going with the Ravens here. I think Henry has a better game than Saquon Barkley because the Ravens will be winning this game more. I think Lamar Jackson has a better game than Jalen Hurts because he won't have to throw the ball as much as Jalen Hurts. I think it's a close competitive game, and I'm going Ravens here. I'm going Ravens 28-24 over the Eagles, and Justin agrees with me here that he's got the Ravens winning 31-28. And we got a comment from Hector again. He says, "Let's hope the Ravens don't allow a fourth quarter comeback like the Cow. Let's hope the Ravens don't allow a fourth quarter comeback like the Cowboys did." Yeah, we'll see. Yes, this is another thing too. Is the other issue with the Ravens is there issues in the fourth quarter? Yes, the Ravens have had issues in the fourth quarter, losing the Browns game, losing the Raider game. So they definitely have had their issues in the fourth quarter. So something that could be possible on Sunday is that the Ravens are up and they could blow the lead. So that's another thing. There's two big Achilles heel. There's an Achilles heel for both these teams. The Eagles, it's starting games. The Ravens, it's closing out games, and those could definitely be issues for both these teams moving forward into the season. And it definitely could hurt both these teams' chances to win a championship. But we will move on to the team that the Ravens are looking up at, only by a half game in the AFC North, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers, as they will travel to Cincinnati to face the Cincinnati Bengals. And for this game, I think this is close and competitive, but I'm going to go with the better quarterback here. I know the Steelers are they got much better coaching and their roster is better, but I'm going with the better quarterback here. I'm going to go with Joe Burrow. I just can't see the Steelers being 9-3. And the Bengals being 4-8. I just can't see that happen. I think it evens out a little bit here. I think Joe Burrow is a good game. I think that Russell Wilson plays well, but he turns the ball over a couple of times. The Bengals defense forces a couple turnovers. I think the game comes down to the end, either with the ball in Burrow's hands or the Steelers, or the ball in Russ's hands, and the Bengals defense makes a stop. I'm going to go with the Bengals here. I'm going to go with the Bengals 24-20. And Justin disagrees with me here too. This, just like the Cardinal Viking game, Justin disagrees with me. He's got the Steelers 27-23 over the Bengals. So this is going to be a competitive AFC North matchup, and I'm going Bengals here. I just can't see Joe Burrow losing this. I can't see Joe Burrow losing this game with their season. Bengals is their season right here. Their season is on the line. This is an absolute must win for the Bengals if they want any shot to stay alive in this playoff race. They have to win this game, because if you look at the number 7 seed, the Broncos, they got the Browns this week, so they're probably going to win. So the Bengals need this win. If they lose this game, their season is over. The Bengals lose, season's over. So I got the Bengals here. Justin's got the Steelers. Should be a good AFC North matchup on Sunday afternoon in Cincinnati. But we will move on to an AFC matchup in Foxborough between the Colts and the Patriots. And the Patriots last week were absolutely pathetic. It was a pretty no surprise that they were always pathetic in Miami. It was just an absolutely pathetic performance in Miami. Mayo's comments after the game saying, "I can't help my team once they get on the field." Not smart. Another bad comment by Gerard Mayo, his second of the year, calling out his team too after the Jaguar loss. So to me, I think this is going to be a close competitive game. But I do think the Colts struggled last week, but I do think Richardson struggled, but I don't think he will this week. I think he'll play a good game. I think Jonathan Taylor will have a good game. I think Drake May will make plays too. But the difference in this game is I think Richardson makes less mistakes. And as you've noticed with Drake May, he always has that bad turnover, and it's at an inopportune time. The Titan game in overtime, he threw in a double coverage, the ball got picked off. The Ram game, he threw a pick at the end. He's shown promise for the Patriots, but he does have that really, really bad turnover at a very inopportune time. And I think that's going to happen this week too. And that's why I'm going with the Colts here. I'm going with the Colts to beat the Patriots 27-20. And let's see if Justin takes his Patriots. And he did not. He's got the Colts winning 24-20 over the Patriots. And for the Patriots, yes, we get it is a rebuilding year. But looking at Gerard Mayo's first year, there are definitely some concerns. And two things that have really, really concerned me about Gerard Mayo is he is a defensive-minded head coach, And the defense has regressed. The defense has really regressed this year. So that's one of my concerns. And number two, the way he's spoken to the media. I think he's made some comments that have not been the smartest with the media. We'll see how this Patriots team responds to his most recent comments. But I think his comments with the media have not been good. He's made some mistakes in his press conferences and his defense. You look at the defense. I mean, 22nd against the run. This guy was a middle linebacker for a defense last year that was top 5 against the run. So, yet I don't think Gerard. I think Gerard Mayo is completely safe. I think he's definitely getting a second year. But there are things he's definitely going to improve on. If the Patriots are a 3-4 win team next year and their defense looks like this, Gerard Mayo will be fired. Gerard Mayo will be fired if their defense looks like this. Now, I think he survives year one, but if they're this bad and their defense is this bad next year, Gerard Mayo will be fired. So Mayo has got to start stepping it up. He's going to get another year, but he's got to step it up, or his coaching days will not be long with the New England Patriots. Moving on to a game at MetLife Stadium as we got the first place Seattle Seahawks flying across the country to face the New York Jets. And I think this is a very, very close competitive game. I think it's a competitive game. It's a close game because the Seahawks got to fly out halfway across the country. But in the end, I think the Jets lose another close one. They've been losing close games all year. I think in this game, I think Rodgers has an up and down game where he makes some plays and makes some mistakes. I think Geno Smith's return to the Meadowlands plays pretty well. I don't think it's a great game, but he plays pretty well. I think Kenneth Walker is a good game on the ground. Geno throws a couple touchdowns. I think it comes down to the end where the Seahawks got to make a stop, and the Jets got to try to score, and the Seahawks make that stop. And that's why I'm going with Seattle here. I'm going with Seattle 24-17 over the Jets. I'm going with Seattle 24-17 over the Jets. And the big thing for Seattle here is their defense has improved these last couple of weeks. And I think it was an underrated move at the trade deadline, the addition of Ernest Jones. Because the first 7 games, Seattle gave up over 100 yards rushing to the running backs, five out of those 7 games. But since Ernest Jones has came back, Seattle has really done a good job against the run. Not allowed their running backs to run for over 100 yards. Allow running backs to run for over 100 yards only one time. That was James Cook against the Seahawks against them. So Seattle's defense definitely improved. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to show up on Sunday as well. That's why I got the Seahawks staying in first place, beating the Jets 24-17. And Justin agrees. He's got the Seahawks beating the Jets 21-17. Interesting matchup in Landover, Maryland, as the Titans, who are coming off of an upset win against the Texans, take on the Commanders, who had a brutal loss last week against the Cowboys. Their special teams were horrendous. Jaden Daniels probably had his one for three and a half quarters, probably had one of his worst games of the season. So he's kind of hitting that rookie wall a little bit. I think he's kind of hitting that rookie wall. The Commanders might not have Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler this week, but at the end of the day, I'm going to take them in this game. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going to take him in this game. I think that Jaden Daniels makes enough plays. And one thing you would always count on in a Titans game is Will Levis is going to make a big mistake. Last week he did. Even though they won, Will Levis made a big mistake last week. I think he makes a big mistake in this game too. I think it comes down to the end. But I'm going to go with the team with the better quarterback here. I'm going to go with the Commanders. I got the Commanders beating the Titans 24-19. And Justin agrees. He's got them winning it. He's got the Commanders winning 23-20. We got an AFC South matchup in Jacksonville as the Jaguars take on the Texans. One thing I was shocked about last week is Doug Peterson didn't get fired. I'm shocked that Doug Peterson didn't get fired. It looked like that team quit against the Lions when they got blown out 52-6. I was shocked that Doug Peterson kept his job, but he is still the head coach. Who knows how long he'll be the head coach, but he still is the head coach. But for this game, Houston lost a tough game last week. I think Jacksonville stays in it for a half, but I think eventually in the second half, Houston pulls away, and I got them winning this one 27-16 over the Texans. And Justin agrees here. He's got the Texans winning 27-20. We both got the Texans bouncing back from a brutal loss last week to the Titans. I think they bounce back here. I think I don't see them losing to the Jags and the Titans 2 weeks in a row. I got the Texans going to 8-5. Winning this game 27-16. Justin's got it winning it 27-20. Got an interesting matchup in Atlanta on Sunday as the Chargers travel to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. And I think this is a close competitive game the whole way. I think it's a close competitive game, but I do think in a game with the Falcons need to have, because they lose this game, they're probably going to be tied. The Bucks. I mean, I know the Falcons have the tiebreaker because they beat them twice, but them and the Bucks are probably going to be tied. Are probably going to be tied in the standings. So I think this is an important game for the Falcons to win. I think they run the ball with Bijan. I think Kirk Cousins plays well. I think that Justin Herbert plays pretty well too, and they have success running the ball, even though they're probably going to be without J.K. Dobbins, the Chargers. I think it comes right down to the end, but I think we get another Cousins game-winning drive here. I think we get another Cousins game-winning drive, and I think the Falcons go to 7-5, and I think the Chargers fall to 7-5. I got the Falcons winning this game 27-24 over the Chargers. Justin disagrees. He's got the Chargers winning to 27-23. So it's going to be an interesting one in Atlanta. You got the Falcons trying to fight for the NFC South. And you got the Chargers trying to fight for one of those wild card spots in the AFC. So that should be a very, very interesting game down in Atlanta on Sunday afternoon. Now, we got the team that is chasing the Falcons in the NFC South, and I know the Giants are terrible, but they looked really, really good last week against the Giants, and that's the Buccaneers. And I think their offense continues to play well. Their offenses are really they've been really good all year. They've been really good all year, even though they've had injuries. Even though Evans has been out and Godwin's obviously out for the year, they've been really good all season. The defense has been the issue for the Buccaneers, and I think this is a game that's competitive because Bryce Young probably played his best game as a Carolina Panther last week. I think the Panthers are rethinking what they're going to do in the draft. I think that Dave Canales now probably has to stick with Bryce Young, seeing the way he played last week. Panthers have definitely been more competitive, in recent weeks. I think this is a game that's close for, a half and into the third quarter, but I think eventually the Bucs run game with Rashad White and Bucky Irving, and I think Baker Mayfield throws a couple touchdown passes. He continues to have a really good season with this team. I'm going with the Bucs here. I'm going with the Bucs to get to 6-6, the Panthers to fall to 3-10. I got the Bucs the Panthers fall to 3-9. I got the Bucs beating the Panthers 30-20. Justin agrees, but he agrees it's going to be a close game. He's got the Bucs winning this one 28-21 over the Panthers. We got the Rams traveling to New Orleans to take on the Saints. This is an interesting matchup between these two teams. I think this is going to be another close competitive game. I think the Rams, though, offensively, I think they have a good game running the football. I think that Matthew Stafford plays well, throws 2 or 3 touchdown passes. Kyron Williams is a good game because the Saints have a lot of trouble stopping the run. But on the flip side, though, I think that the Saints with Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara have a big day. I think they have a big day. But the difference is I think the Rams will win because the Eagles, they scored touchdowns when Saquon was when they were able to run the ball down the Rams' throat. I think that the Saints moved the ball, but they kicked field goals, and that's why I think Darren Rizzi gets his first loss as an interim head coach. I got the Rams here winning this one 28-23 over the Rams winning this one 28-23 over the Saints. I got him, and Justin agrees with me. He's got the Rams winning it 30-23 over the Saints. We will wrap up week 13 with the Monday night game. The 3-8 Browns travel to the 7-5 Broncos, and the Broncos are rolling right now. Bo Nix, we thought Jaden Daniels had Offensive Rookie of the Year locked up in the middle of the season. These last couple of weeks, Bo Nix has made a case for it. He has been great these last couple of weeks for the Broncos, and I think he continues that great play. I think they run the football well. I think he throws 2 or 3 touchdown passes. I think the defense forces a turnover from Jameis Winston. I don't even think the Cleveland will be as close to the final score. I think the Browns score in garbage time. But I am going with the Broncos here. I'm going with the Broncos 31-17. Broncos 31-17. I'm going with the Broncos 31-17 over the Browns, and Justin agrees with me. Justin is taking the Broncos 23-16 over the Browns. So Justin's got the Broncos 23-16 over the Browns. So we are going to break here, but coming up after the break, we got the reveal of the college football playoff rankings. We got the reveal of the college football playoff. We talk about the reveal of the college football playoff rankings. But before we talk about that, we're going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
Alrighty, last night we had the reveal of the college football playoff. It was the fourth week of the college football playoff reveal, and the two things that stood out to me with these rankings, the two things that stood out to me, the first thing was about the losses. The losses are not everything. If you look at some of these teams, you look at Tennessee. They jumped Indiana, even though they're a two-loss team. Tennessee and Georgia, even though they're two-loss teams, they jumped Indiana. So the losses don't mean everything with these teams. That's definitely not the case. The losses definitely don't mean everything. And number two, this leads to my next point. The Big 12 teams with two losses, they did not jump Ole Miss or Bama. Like, Ole Miss and Bama did not fall as far as we thought they were going to fall. Ole Miss and Bama, they still have a chance. And we thought last week Ole Miss and Bama might be out of this thing. Now they both of them. I mean, Bama a better chance than Ole Miss, but Ole Miss, Bama, and even South Carolina, they still have a chance seeing where they're ranked. Both those teams are going to need a lot of help, but they're still in this, seeing what they're ranked. And that's what the biggest thing. The biggest thing with the committee is now I feel like these are what the rankings are going to be. The last couple of weeks, they've been kind of mimicking the AP poll. I think now these are what these rankings are going to be. I think this is what it's going to be like, seeing where they're ranked, seeing that they're not taking, for example, they're not taking, one-loss Indiana team ahead of a two-loss Georgia team or Tennessee team. And also they're not taking a two-loss Arizona State team or a two-loss Iowa State team or a two-loss BYU team over a three-loss, Bama team, Ole Miss team, or South Carolina team. So I think these rankings right now are what they are going to be. I think these rankings are absolutely what they're going to be, and what we should expect to really see for the rest of the year. So I think the committee is really valuing eye test over wins and losses. So wins and losses, which is a good thing. Because you want to get the 12 best teams playing in this. I think the committee did a good thing last night, valuing eye test, not saying just because, Indiana has one loss, they should be ranked ahead of, Georgia and Tennessee, or just because, Iowa State or Arizona State has two losses, they should be ranked ahead of Ole Miss or Alabama. I like that the committee is going off eye test. So I really, really like what the committee did last night. I was a big fan of what the committee did last night. Now let's get to the games of rivalry week, and we got to get to the biggest game of rivalry week, and this is for a spot in the SEC championship game with Texas and Texas A&M. This is a spot in the SEC title game with these two teams. They're playing for a spot in the championship game. You got Texas. If they win this, they'll be in. Texas A&M, they're in to play. The winner will face Georgia, and for the game, it's going to be a great crowd in College Station. It's going to be a loud crowd in College Station. But I think Quinn Ewers plays really well. Texas A&M to me is a little overrated. I think they've been struggling, losing to Auburn, losing to South Carolina on the road. I think Quinn Ewers has a really good game. I do think that Amari Daniels and Le'Veon Moss. I think they run the ball okay, but I think they get contained. I think it comes down to the end with the ball in Marcel Reese's hands and that Texas defense making a stop. And I'm going with Texas here. I'm going with Texas. I'm going to take them. I'm taking Texas 27-20 over Texas A&M, and I got them heading to the SEC title game. I got them playing Texas in the SEC championship game. I got Texas A&M facing Texas, and Justin disagrees with me, though. He's got Texas A&M in that game, so be interesting to see who wins it because Justin disagrees with me. He's got Texas A&M in an upset. I'm not doing that. I got Texas winning this game 27-20 over Texas A&M. Now moving on to the team that the winner will play in the SEC title game, and that's Georgia, and they face Georgia Tech, and I think Georgia's going to win this. And I think Carson Beck he's struggled this year, but I thought he played really well against Tennessee, and I think he plays really well against Georgia Tech. I think Georgia contains that run game of Georgia Tech. I think they do a good job containing that, and I got Georgia winning this game, and I got Georgia. If they win this game, it's a lock. Georgia is to me. Georgia is a lock. You heard Ward Manuel last night on the selection show. He said they're going to hold teams that make the conference championship game in high regard. If Georgia wins this game, for me, they are in the college football playoff. They are a lock to make the playoff. They beat Georgia Tech. They're a lock to make the playoff. I think Georgia's in if they win this game, and I got Georgia winning this one here. I got Georgia winning this one 30-13. I got them winning this one, and Justin agrees. He's got Georgia winning this game 30-10 over Georgia Tech. We got a huge. This has now became a huge matchup in Death Valley on Saturday at noon on Saturday between South Carolina and Clemson. I think this is going to be a really good game between these two teams. I think it's going to be competitive the whole way. I think both quarterbacks are going to make a mistake, but I do think the difference in this game is I think Cumlick outplays Sellers. I think he turns the ball over less, and I think he does what he did against Pitt. I think he leads a game-winning drive, and I think he keeps Clemson's college football playoff hopes alive. Now, there is a chance Clemson could lose this and their hopes could stay alive if Miami loses to Syracuse, and they would keep their college football playoff hopes alive because they would win the ACC. They could win the ACC title, but I think they keep their college football playoff hopes alive. They end this South Carolina season. This is kind of a playoff game, more for South Carolina than Clemson, because if South Carolina loses, they're completely done. Now, we thought they were done weeks ago because they had 3 losses, but seeing the way the committee has ranked these teams, they're not done right now. Seeing that they value eye test over this win-loss record, which I really like. Seeing what they did last night, South Carolina is not done. So I think that, again, this is a competitive game between these two teams, but I got Clemson winning this, but Justin disagrees. He's going South Carolina here. So Justin thinks South Carolina keeps their season alive on Sunday, so on Saturday. So it should be an interesting game between those two teams. But we will move on to the Iron Bowl between Alabama and Auburn. Alabama, a brutal loss last Saturday against Oklahoma, and then you got Auburn who had a huge upset over Texas A&M. I think Auburn stays in early. I think they're able to run the ball. Seeing that Auburn has Alabama as their starting middle linebacker out, I think they're able to run the ball well early in the game. Jacques Hunter runs the ball pretty well early, but I think eventually in the second half, Alabama takes over. And that's why I got Alabama winning this, and I got them keeping their college football playoff hopes alive. I got Alabama beating Auburn 31-17, and Justin agrees. He's a little bit closer, though, for Justin. He's got the Iron Bowl being a little bit closer than me. He's got him winning this game. He's got Alabama winning this game 27-20 over Auburn. Now we will move on to another SEC match. Just like Georgia, I think Tennessee and Georgia are in winning your in. If they both win, they're in. I think, but the thing is, Tennessee probably can't lose, because if Tennessee loses, they're probably out. Seeing that there would be a loss to Vandy and a loss on the road to Arkansas. So, I think it's a win and you're in for Tennessee. I think they're a lock to make it if they win this game over Vanderbilt. Another noon game on Saturday. Good noon slate. I mean, you got Vandy and Tennessee. You got South Carolina, Clemson. And who would have thought Michigan, Ohio State would be the game that people don't really pay that much attention to? But seeing the record of Michigan, that's probably going to be the case. So I think this is a close game, but I think Diego Pavia will play well, but will make mistakes. The run game is going to be the difference here. I think the run game of Dylan Sampson is the difference. That's why I think Tennessee wins this game and they clinch a spot in the college football playoff. I got Tennessee beating Vanderbilt 24-17 on Saturday afternoon. I got Tennessee winning this one 24-17. Now, speaking of Michigan and Ohio State, we finally will discuss them. This is probably in the last decade since Brady Hoke has been there, really the least amount of buzz for a Michigan-Ohio State game. Now, I do think Michigan hangs in this game early because I think there's some momentum in the program, landing Bryce Underwood last week. There's some momentum in the program there. And I do think, maybe they contain Junkins early in the game. But the problem is Ohio State clearly is the better roster. And I just don't think Michigan's off. I think Ohio State's defense completely shuts down Michigan's offense. Maybe it's like, 14-10, 14-7, 14-10 at halftime. But in the second half, I think Ohio State pulls away. I got Ohio State here, 27-10 over Michigan. This will be the first Ohio State victory. Funny, this will be the first Ohio State victory over Michigan since the pandemic, because when Harbaugh's been there, Michigan's beaten him 3 years in a row. But I think Ryan Day finally snaps his losing streak against Michigan. Not going to be hard too, because Michigan's 6-5 this year. So I'm going to go Ohio State here, 27-10, and Justin has Ohio State 34-10 over Michigan. So it looked, and if Ohio State wins, they clinch a spot in the game. Penn State, the only way Penn State would make it is if Michigan pulls off a huge upset in the horseshoe before they take the field against. But they'll know before they take the field against Maryland if they're in the Big Ten championship game or not. If Ohio State wins this game, if Ohio State wins this week, they get to the Big Ten championship game, and probably when Ohio State and Oregon play in the championship game, the winner will probably get the winner. The winner will definitely get a bye or the 1 or 2 seed, and the loser probably gets the 5 seed. So I got Ohio State getting to the Big Ten championship game, beating Michigan. Now, Penn State can get to the Big Ten championship game if they get help from Michigan, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I don't think that's going to affect the effect what happens with them against Maryland. Maryland has been terrible. They're 4-7, only one Big Ten win. I think Penn State dominates. I think they dominate in this spot. I'm going Penn State big here. I got Penn State 45-14. I think Singleton and Allen have huge games on the ground. I think Aller throws 3 or 4 touchdown passes on Senior Day. I will be at this game. I'm a Penn State fan, so I will be at this game on Senior Day against Maryland. I think it's Penn State wins this one big. I think Penn State wins big over Maryland, and if Penn State wins this game, they are going to clinch a home game. They already are very close. They're pretty much locked up a playoff spot, seeing that Alabama and Ole Miss lost. But if they win this game, they will definitely have a home game in the college football playoff. So I think Penn State beats Maryland. I got Penn State beating Maryland 45-14, and Justin agrees with me. He's got Penn State 38-10 over Maryland on Saturday. We got an interesting matchup in LA as Notre Dame travels to USC. Notre Dame clinches a playoff spot and a home game with a win here, because Notre Dame, they've won 9 in a row. They're 10-1. USC has had a rough year. They're 6-5. But I do think this game is close and competitive, but I don't think Lincoln Riley is pulling it out. I think Marcus Freeman's team is going to pull it out and get to 11-1. Because I think Jeremiah Love's going to be too much on the ground. I think Riley Leonard's going to play well. I think Miller Moss is going to make his plays, but he's also going to make a big mistake, and that's why I got Notre Dame winning this. I got Notre Dame winning this game and getting to the college, pretty much clinching a spot in the college football playoff if they didn't already with Ole Miss and Alabama losing last week. I got Notre Dame winning this one 34-27 over USC. And I'm looking right now. I'm looking right now if Justin agrees. He does agree with me. He's got 31-27. So I got 31-24. He's got 31-27. We both got Notre Dame winning at USC on Saturday. We got Purdue trying to clinch a spot in the college football playoff. No, sorry about that. We got Indiana trying to clinch a spot in the college football playoff against Purdue. Right now, the way they are, they're in the playoff, and I think if they beat, all they have to pretty much do is beat Purdue. Now, they're not getting a home game. As you saw last week, they were not on Ohio State's level. Ohio State dominated them, but they're still going to be in because they're a Big Ten team and they're 11-1, and they were dominant. They were dominant in their first. They didn't trail until like week 9 of the season. So I still think this is a really good football team. Just got beat to arguably the best team in the country last week, but I think they bounce back this week. They roll over Purdue. I got them rolling over Purdue 41-10, pretty much clinching a spot in the playoff. Now, they won't be at home. There's no way they're going to get a home game in the playoff. I don't think there's anywhere. And there might if there's a ton of upsets, but there really isn't a way they're going to get a home game. But I do think they clinch a spot in the college football playoff on Saturday, beating Purdue. Miami tries to get to the ACC championship game as they will face Syracuse. They'll head to Syracuse on on Saturday, and I think that the offense for Miami is going to be too much for Syracuse. Then Cam Ward is a big day. I do think Kyle McCord, they forced McCord to make a mistake or two, and I'm going Miami here. I got Miami getting to the ACC championship game against SMU. I got Miami 34-24. Justin agrees. He's got Miami 35-28. And one thing I didn't mention with the college football playoff is there's a chance the ACC can get 3 teams in this thing. There's a good chance they could get 3 teams in. There's a good chance that Clemson could sneak their way in. There's a chance that if the Miami SMU loser can get in, and then there's a chance that, and then obviously the winner will probably get the number 3 seed. So there is a chance that the ACC can get 3 teams in the college football playoff, which is crazy. Now we'll move on to the team that the team that has already clinched a berth in the ACC championship game, and that's SMU. They're playing Cal, and I think they run over Cal this week. I think they run over Cal. I think they run the ball. I got them winning this one. I got them winning this one pretty big. I had them win it 34-17 over SMU, and Justin agrees. He's got it 31-21 SMU over Cal. So I think SMU wins this one big. They get to 11-1. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, because there's a great chance the ACC is going to get 2 of these teams in. It's a great chance if Miami wins and if SMU wins. If Miami and SMU both win, and even if one of them loses, both are probably getting into the field. Clemson, they're going to need help. They're probably going to need Cuse or SMU to lose this week. If the Miami lose, they get to the ACC championship game, but they're probably going to need one of those teams to lose. Where if Miami and SMU win, there's a good chance they both will make the playoffs. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But we got to talk about the Big 12 race, and this is an interesting race because you got 4 teams that are at 6-2. Colorado 6-2, Arizona 6-2, Iowa State 6-2, and BYU 6-2. The issue with Colorado is they're the one team that has 3 losses. The rest are 9-2. Arizona State, they're 9-2. Iowa State, they're 9-2, and then you got BYU. You got BYU, they're 9-2. So all those other teams are 9-2. Where if you look at Colorado, they're the team that's 8-3, and they play on Friday after Thanksgiving in a game they obviously have to win, but they're going to need a ton of help to get into the college football playoff. But I think they dominate in this game. Shador has a big game. Travis Hunter has a big game. Ollie Gordon will keep him in it for Oklahoma State, but Oklahoma State's defense has been absolutely pathetic recently. So I think Colorado wins this one. I think they win it going away. I got Colorado winning this game 45-20. I got Colorado winning this game 45-20 over Oklahoma State. I got Colorado here winning 45-20 over Oklahoma State, making it interesting for Colorado on Saturday, making it interesting for them, giving them a chance to try to get to the Big 12 championship game. But they're going to need help, and the first thing that has to happen is Arizona's got to beat Arizona State, because if Arizona State wins, they're in. Arizona State wins, they are in the Big 12 championship game. And I think this is going to be a close competitive game with these 2 teams. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. But at the end of the day, I'm going Arizona State here. I'm going Arizona State, and I'm going with Arizona State by a score here. I got Arizona State 35-27 over Arizona. And Justin agrees. He's got Arizona State heading to that Big 12 championship game. He's got them winning that one. He's got them beating Arizona 32-20. So he's got Arizona State in the game playing for the Big 12 championship. And then another team that controls their own destiny is Iowa State. This is an interesting game. Iowa State and Kansas State. Kansas State's a good team. They're a 3-loss team, but they're a good team. You got Iowa State coming in with 2 losses. I think this is a close competitive game, but I think the home team, with everything on the line, the home team wins and they clinch a berth in that championship. I got Iowa State winning it 23-20 over Kansas State. And then if those 2 things happen, if Arizona State and Iowa State win, Arizona State will take on Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game. So BYU and Colorado, they're going to need help. BYU, they face Houston, and I think they win the game, but it won't end up mattering. I think they win it by 2 scores, but I don't think it's going to end up mattering, because at the end of the day, they're going to need either Arizona State or Kansas State to lose, and then Colorado to get in. They need 2 of those 3 teams to lose. So Colorado State and BYU need help. Arizona State and Iowa State, they control their own destinies, and I think Arizona State and Iowa State are going to play for the Big 12 championship game and a spot in the college football playoff. And the Big 12 is the most obvious thing. They are going to be a one bid league. It will not be more than a one bid league. The Big 12 will not be more than a one big league. Now we will wrap up talking about Ashton Genty and Boise State. They're trying to keep they're trying to make their case for the college football playoff. And right now, they're currently the number 4 seed. They're currently number 4 seed because they are higher ranked than any of the Big 12 schools. This is a huge game for them because number 1, they want to win it because they want to keep having that bye. They want to win the Mountain West, keep having that bye. But number 2, say they lose this game, they could drop below Tulane. And if Tulane's higher ranked than them, they get that spot. They become that conference champion. So this is a huge game. Tulane's got a big game on Thanksgiving night. They host Memphis. That's another big game too. A lot of big games. This is the beauty of the 12-team playoff. There are so many more meaningful games this weekend. This has made rivalry weekend just so much better. There is so many more meaningful games. And I think for this Boise State Oregon State game, I think Boise State dominates. Boise State's really good here. I think Ashton Genty has a big game on the ground. I think Oregon State has trouble stopping them. And I got Boise State here continuing to roll, continuing to push towards the college football playoff. I got Boise State winning this game 34-20 over Oregon State. And Justin agrees. He's got Boise State 34-16. But before we wrap up the show, we got to talk about the rich getting richer. And that is the Los Angeles Dodgers. That is the LA Dodgers. The rich just get richer. You think the Dodgers didn't need more guys? And they just signed one last night. The Dodgers signed Blake Snell to a 5-year, $128 million deal. I mean, it's crazy to see what and yeah, I know that Buehler's a free agent, but it's just crazy to see that the Dodgers, who are already the favorite, now are the clear favorite to win the World Series. I mean, this move definitely makes them that. Blake Snell was red hot at the end of last year. I mean, just crazy, and just a crushing blow for the Giants. Seeing your best pitcher go to your arch rivals. There's a crushing blow for the Giants, but baseball's hot still. Started to heat up last night. I think it's going to start heating up in the next couple of weeks. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with Juan Soto. It's going to be really interesting. He's got offers from the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, and Blue Jays. As a Yankee fan, I'm really, really hoping he re-signs so we can get another crack at the Dodgers in the World Series. So we'll see what ends up happening with the hot stove. We'll definitely be talking about it in the coming weeks. But that is going to wrap up this episode of Sports Talk with R&J. I will be back next week. Justin is away again next week. He's still in Italy. I will be back next week talking about week 14 of the NFL season and championship week of the college football season. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.